Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about my favorite M mount lenses for the Canon M mount system, so your M6, M6 Mark II, M50, M50 Mark II, and so on. And right out of the box, we're going to start with my favorite lens, which is the Sigma 16mm 1.4. That's what you're looking at right now. It's on the camera. I do have an ND filter on it. I'll talk about that again. I'll remind you when I get back to the other Sigma or other fast lenses that are on this list. But I love the 16mm, but it goes 1.4, so it takes in a lot of light, so I use that ND filter so that I can put it all the way down to 1.4 so I can get that blurry background look, which, you know, might be maybe your taste, maybe not your taste. It's really not that big of a deal on YouTube. Anyway, I digress. More about the lens. It's a hefty little lens, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big. Compared to like a full frame lens, it's actually tiny, but for an M mount lens, it is pretty heavy, which is one of the drawbacks to it. If you want to vlog with it or something like that, it is kind of heavy, so it might kind of weigh down your shoulder over time. But if you have a locked off shot like on a tripod or something where the camera's not going to move, you don't have to hold it, it's a fantastic lens because it gives you that wide field of view, so that if you don't have a lot of room, then you know, you got the wide field, you don't need a lot. You know, I'm less than arm's length away from the lens, and you know, the composition actually looks pretty good on this lens, especially in this spot. So, you know, if you have a tight space and you need something wide, this is my #1 recommended lens. Love this thing. It's pretty much stays on my camera all the time right now. I do have other lenses on this list to talk about. And so before we get into it, I do want to lay down a couple of, you know, ground rules or reasoning behind my choices. First off, #1, it's got to be a native Canon M mount, so no adapted lenses, not like an EF or EFS that's on an adapter. It's native directly to the M mount system. It can be a third-party lens like the Sigma, but it has to be native to the M mount. #2, I'm only going to talk about lenses that I actually own or have used in the past. So there's going to be some notable omissions, such as the Viltrox lenses, which I think are wonderful lenses, but I've never used them, so I can't really put them in my top 5 video because I've never used them, even though I do think they could replace 1 or 2 lenses on this list. Viltrox, if you're watching, send me some. I'd be more than happy to look at them. Also, this is in no particular order. Like, I'm not going with, I started with my favorite, but the other 4, it's no particular order. Just how it's going to fall is how it's going to fall. Hey, and stick around to the end because there's more, there's one more tip I want to give you when it comes to the lens, because it's more than just having a good lens. You gotta know how to properly use it. So stick around to the end. I'm going to give you one more tip on that. Now, real quick, if you just want to see what my list is, you know, I'll just show you the lenses really fast. That way you can just see this and then get out of here. In no particular order, we got the Canon 22mm. We've got the Canon 11 to 22mm, great for vlogging. We've got the kit lens, the 15 to 45 that comes with it, and I've also got the Sigma 30mm 1.4. Alright, the first of the other 4 lenses we're going to look at, this is the 11 to 22. I'm at 11 millimeters here. It goes from f4 to f5.6, so you're not going to get that blurry background. But, you know, if you're out vlogging, nobody's really paying attention to the background, and truth be told, the blurry background, especially on YouTube, is kind of, you know, it's a little overplayed. It's not as important as people make it out to be. Yes, it looks better. Yes, I know we all want it. I shoot at 1.4 so I can get it. I get that. But really, when's the last time you paid attention and be like, ooh, I like the background? Maybe some, not that much. Anyway, here we are, same length away, arm length away at 11 millimeters. That's zooming in, so you can see, you get that nice wide field of view. As you can see, my little kicker light set up right here. You can see more of the office. As I zoom in, the aperture, the f-stops change. So now we're at 22 millimeters, but you can see this is kind of tight. But we're at 22 millimeters, all the way zoomed in. If you're wanting this shot, then, you know, probably go with that prime. But anyway, I just wanted you to see how wide exactly the field of view can get with this 11 millimeter. Next, we're going to put on the kit lens so you can see what that looks like. Alright, so now we're looking at the kit lens. This is the 15 to 45 millimeter. It goes from 3.5 to 6.3 millimeters f-stop. So again, it's actually a pretty good image that comes out of this. It's a very clean, very crisp image. No, the background is not that blurry, but for the lens that comes with the camera, you can't, I mean, it's really the only lens you need. But again, remember we were talking about the background, it's not that big a deal. So the 11 to 22, it's very small, it's very light, the camera's at arm's length, so you could vlog with this, especially if you got a little bit further. As you can see, not even an arm's length to the lens, but the base of the camera is arm's length away from me. So I highly, highly recommend that you start with this lens. Pros of this lens, it's cheap if you buy it with the camera. Not so cheap if you buy it separately, so if you've already got the camera but you didn't have the kit lens, you can probably skip this, but I would recommend go ahead and get it with the camera. It's very versatile, 15 to 45, gives a very good image, but it doesn't have that blurry background, so that could be, one of the cons. But this is the look with the kit lens. Next up, we're going to go to the 22mm Canon prime lens. So now you're looking at the Canon 22mm f2. It's a pretty fast lens, gives you that nice shallow background. And it's just a small compact lens. It makes it a very small, very light setup. It's a great lens. It might be a little too tight for vlogging because, full arms extension, I'm not quite touching the camera, not even touching the lens. This is about what it would look like, so you see how tight it can get there on the face. However, if you could put a few feet in between you and the camera, then it's actually a really good looking shot. I'm gonna back up. It's gonna get me away from my microphone, so the audio may mess up a minute. But, hey, that's a good looking shot. Don't know if you noticed. Repping the A. Proud of them boys from winning the World Series. But this is the 22mm f2. It's a little pancake lens. Not great for vlogging because it doesn't have the optical image stabilization built into the lens. You do have it with certain cameras, but you're still going to have that shaky footage. And personally, I think it would be a little too tight for a vlog shot. So if you want to vlog, you could get away with the kit lens, but I'd go with the 11 to 22. But this is what the 22mm looks like. Next, we're going to talk about the Sigma 30mm. Well, hello there. This is uncomfortably close. This is the Sigma 30mm. Hold on. Let me reframe the shot. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's still a little tight, but, 30mm, that's a long focal length. I'm probably an arm and a half length distance away from the lens. And really, to get a good composition, probably got to get about 5 feet away from the camera to get this shot. So, the one thing about this lens is it being so tight, you're going to have some distance, so you got to make sure you have the microphone. I've got a lavalier microphone I could use to cover the distance, so it wouldn't be a problem, but you're going to need some space to use this lens. I love the lens. I love how sharp it is. I love how fast it is. One thing to keep in mind, if you're going to get one of the Sigmas, if you want to shoot at 1.4, which I've been doing on these lenses, you're going to want an ND filter to put on your lens just to, cut, because the 1.4 is going to bring in so, I don't know what that was, I just made a weird noise, but the 1.4 is going to bring in so much light that you're going to need that ND filter that's the sunglasses for your lens. That way you can shoot it without blowing out everything that's in frame on the camera. Again, great lens. The longer the lens is, the more compressed the background is, so the blurrier the background is going to be. So if you have a lot of room, so if I could get like 5 or 6 feet away from this camera and then have 20, 30, 40, 50 feet behind me, that background is just going to be creamy as all get out. It's going to look really, really good. So if you got the space, I'd look at this 30mm or maybe one of the Viltroxes in this range. And so here you go. You're getting to see how the Sigma 30mm looks on this camera. So there you have it. That's my list, my top 5. Your list may vary completely, and that's okay. Hey, in fact, if you have another lens that's on there that I hadn't touched, drop it in the comments. Let me know, because I would love to go and check out that lens. Now, as promised, the one thing that I wanted to add with the lens is, on top of the lens, it's all about composition and all about framing your subject or yourself or whoever you're shooting in the lens or on the screen. So if you notice how I'm kind of framed here, there's a difference between, being in the middle or being down at the bottom versus being properly framed. And so if you want to watch a video that's a little more in depth on how to frame someone on camera, click that link right there. If you want to just watch some other video from my channel, you can click this link right here. Other than that, guys, hit that like button, subscribe if you hadn't already, and I'll talk to you later.